Now, you would have thought Prince Harry's failed coronation appearance would inspire him to keep a low profile for the foreseeable future. But my next guest insists the Ginger Whinger will be moping back to Montecito with an even bigger chip on his shoulder.
No royal enthusiast saw it coming, yet it has since come to symbolise Prince Harry's astonishing descent from royal favour. The live GB News broadcast left viewers reeling as renowned royal biographer Tom Bauer delivered the shocking assessment.
Tom Bauer, what are you expecting?
Well, I think that, as we predicted, she did a stunt. It wasn't a very good one on Coronation Day. But what's really going to happen now is they will plot something which will really hit the royal family in a way, because I think Harry went back pretty angry, clearly.
Bauer unleashed an unflinching assault on the self-imposed exile after reports emerged that Harry had been seen going door to door across Britain, pleading for backing in his bid to have his police protection reinstated. To witness a man who once stood at the very centre of the monarchy reduced, in Bauer's words, to a forlorn figure roaming from threshold to threshold in a state of grievance, is not merely humiliating, it's utterly devastating. He held nothing back. Appearing on Ben Leo tonight, Bauer sketched the portrait of a prince in freefall, a man stripped of direction, consumed by an overwhelming sense of entitlement, and accused of wielding his own children as emotional leverage to browbeat institutions that have long since moved on without him.
The royal family is now a moving target, a soft touch. Charles showed that he won't answer back. So whatever is thrown at him, he's just going to take it. And I think this is a real danger now.
This is no tabloid fiction. It's the recorded, on-camera disintegration of Prince Harry's last vestige of dignity, laid bare under the relentless glare of reality. Let's examine the downfall of a prince once held in esteem, now reduced to a doorstep-to-doorstep purveyor of grievances. It's impossible to exaggerate the calamity of this episode for Harry. According to several GB News insiders, he was actually seen knocking on doors. Yes, physically knocking, apparently seeking allies in his embittered battle over UK security.
Clearly furious, he clearly feels humiliated, but what else was he expecting? I mean, he was not prepared to go to the coronation lunch, he was not prepared to stay for the concert, for example, which is an opportunity where he could have been in attendance. It was more his sort of thing.
He's now grovelling to the very institution he eviscerated in his Netflix series, following the hollow confessions of his memoir and that notorious sit-down with Oprah. This isn't merely cringeworthy, it's a nadir of historical pitifulness. In the annals of modern royalty, no figure has ever stooped to such brazen public supplication. The spectacle has already spawned countless memes, a stark emblem of what unfolds when arrogance meets reckoning. Enter Tom Bauer, the seasoned investigative biographer whose bread and butter is unmasking the powerful. On Ben Leo tonight, he unleashed his intellectual arsenal on Harry without mercy. Bauer labelled him desperately sad, a verdict that left even host Ben Leo momentarily speechless. Yet Bauer didn't stop at mere character assassination. He methodically dissected the prince, portraying a man adrift, ensnared by bitterness. Rather than lampoon him, he conducted a surgical examination of a once hopeful royal, now eclipsed by entitlement, grievance, and profound emotional turmoil.
Do you remember when Prince Harry said this last week?
Beginning of 2020, I was scored the highest as far as risk was concerned, and then overnight I was reduced to the lowest.
Oh, boo-hoo. Yeah, that's when he was complaining after losing a court appeal demanding British taxpayers fund his...
Bauer's core argument was brutal in its clarity. Prince Harry lacks any defined purpose, role, mission, or genuine identity apart from his surname. As Bauer put it, that void of direction is the very engine driving his spiral into turmoil. Consider the trajectory. Since stepping away from royal life, Harry hasn't spearheaded any lasting charitable initiatives, demonstrated meaningful leadership, or achieved tangible results. Instead, he spent his time launching lawsuits, publicly attacking his own family, and chasing one-off PR ventures that fizzle out almost as quickly as they begin. Even his high-profile Spotify partnership collapsed in ignominy, underscoring the emptiness at the heart of his post-royal endeavours.
I can only come to the UK safely if I'm invited.
Well, surprise, surprise, it turns out Prince Harry is a massive raging hypocrite. Take a look at this picture obtained by the Sun newspaper today. It's the Duke of Sussex himself, pictured on a doorbell camera.
His Netflix shows have grown stale, and his public addresses draw ridicule. Now, in his desperation, he's literally going door to door across Britain. Clinging to the very royal status he once sought to dismantle, he's resorted to this humiliating tactic. Yet Bauer held back the gravest charge for last, that Harry is leveraging his children, Archie and Lilibet, as tools of emotional blackmail. The implication is chilling. Whenever Harry comes under fire, his kids become his shield, question his security arrangements, and he invokes their safety, deny him royal privileges, and suddenly it's all about being a devoted father. But, as Bauer emphasized, this isn't genuine parental concern, it's manipulation. Using one's children to deflect scrutiny is a tactic even the most unscrupulous celebrity would find shameful.
I don't think many people would just walk down a road knocking on doors, let alone if you don't feel safe. The Sun on Sunday previously revealed Harry also stayed at a friend's private home and, against security protocols, had a Deliveroo sent to the front door. So let's just recap for a second, shall we? Harry's been battling the Home Office in the court.
As if that weren't scandalous enough for any public figure, let alone a prince. This move strikes as utterly exploitative, nothing more than theatre, and directly at odds with the private life Harry claims he so desperately wants for his family. It's no wonder public sympathy is evaporating. The charade is plain to see. This isn't a battle for genuine security. It's a calculated power grab, using his own children as emotional leverage to bend institutions to his will. And so here we are, Prince Harry, the self-styled modern rebel, reduced to canvassing British doorsteps while being dissected on live television.
Banging on doors and getting food delivered via Deliveroo. Surely he can arrange to bring his kids to see their unwell grandfather at one of the very many well-protected royal households across Britain. For me,
if this isn't absolute rock bottom, it's perilously close. And as Tom Bauer made unmistakably clear, Harry has no one to blame but himself. Any notion that the United Kingdom will roll out the red carpet for his return is heartbreakingly delusional. The pathway back to Buckingham Palace hasn't merely been burned, it's been utterly obliterated. After a litany of public assaults, from the Oprah interview to his ghost-written memoir, the British public has simply had enough of the exile's ceaseless grievances. Poll after poll confirms it. Harry and Meghan now rank among the most unpopular figures in the country. The same prince who once walked solemnly behind Princess Diana's coffin has become a national punchline. And that so-called security crusade he's mounting, it's not being seen as a bid for reconciliation, but rather as yet another chapter in his self-inflicted fall from grace.
Nice to see you. What do you make of this picture? I mean, I opened the Sun newspaper this morning, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
I think it just shows what a desperately sad man Harry is. But on the other hand, it does show that the
even inside the palace, he's become a persistent irritant, and any vestige of trust has evaporated. The late Queen's forbearance has run its course. King Charles approaches him with guarded reluctance. And Prince William? He's had more than enough of this spectacle. There will be no fanfare, only the stark cobblestones of accountability. Perhaps most telling of all is Meghan Markle's conspicuous absence. While Harry goes door to door, pleading for a reconsideration of his security, Meghan remains nowhere in sight.
£500,000 and got him nowhere. And he shouldn't have started in the first place. The point about Harry is he doesn't know what to do anymore. He's losing all sorts of relations in Britain. He hasn't got a purpose. He's embarrassed.
She's deliberately stayed clear of the UK spectacle and the humiliation it's wrought. This isn't happenstance. Meghan, ever the image strategist, recognizes that public sentiment has shifted. Her political initiatives, brand partnerships, and overall marketability hinge on meticulously managed appearances. Tying herself to a spouse increasingly seen as erratic, tactically tone-deaf, and broadly disliked could be a strategic misstep. So while Harry traipses across Britain pleading for a security reprieve, Meghan remains ensconced in Montecito, orchestrating lifestyle product rollouts, reviving her podcast, and staging high-profile photo shoots with celebrity friends. This isn't about spousal loyalty, it's about self-preservation. And Bauer's appraisal wasn't hyperbole, it was a historical indictment. Royals don't knock on strangers' doors. They don't run campaigns like backbench politicians. They certainly don't plead for benefits they've willingly abandoned.
Some pictures of their date night last night, watching Beyonce in concert. We've got some pictures here. This is what Meghan put online a couple of hours ago. Harry there. I mean, he's smiling. He looks happy. He's wearing a pretty funky hat. This is a selfie. He looks slightly sweaty.
Harry's actions represent nothing less than a repudiation of royal decorum and a direct affront to centuries-old tradition, a point Bauer didn't hesitate to underline on GB News. In exposing himself to such a public, almost degrading plea, Harry has vindicated the worst suspicions of his detractors, that he fundamentally misapprehends the essence of royalty. To him, a title is merely a commodity, something you can lease, abandon, and then reacquire, as casually as a subscription service. But monarchy transcends mere labels. It rests on the pillars of restraint, duty, and dignity. Qualities Harry forsook the moment he boarded that flight to California and traded his inheritance for a Netflix deal. Beneath all the headlines and courtroom filings lies a more profound reality. This dispute over police protection isn't truly about personal safety. It's about control, entitlement, and the illusion that one can bargain for sovereign privileges once willingly relinquished.
Tito media machine gets whirring up, immediately gets the retaliation in, and this is really all just part of the battle. No, he's not happy. She's clearly very unhappy because she's had some terrible reviews for her programs, but all they can do...
For Harry, this showdown has never truly been about safety. It's about status. Commentators like Tom Bauer contend that security, for him, serves as a proxy for prestige, a way to proclaim, I remain royal, I still count. This desperation drives him to public embarrassment in court, to filing one lawsuit after another, and now even to knocking on strangers' doors. After all, royal protection signifies royal relevance, and losing it cements the public's suspicions. He's no longer indispensable. Once a working member of the monarchy, he's now just a fading celebrity. Should the UK refuse to restore this symbolic privilege, it amounts to an official verdict. He chose voluntary exile, and thus accepted irrelevance. As this drama descends into farce, the pressing question is, how far will Harry go to reclaim the status he so cavalierly abandoned? Up next, we'll explore why the British public views his latest tactics as emotional manipulation, and why even his staunchest Sussex supporters are beginning to waver. Prince Harry's apologists will argue that he's merely a devoted father and husband safeguarding his loved ones. Yet even that defense is beginning to falter. As Tom Bauer and other prominent commentators have pointed out, Harry's invocation of Archie and Lilibet in his security campaign is increasingly perceived as outright emotional blackmail. He's brandished the "My family is at risk" banner in courtrooms, on podcasts, and in interviews, but let's consider the facts. These are children he scarcely ever exposes to the public eye. He resides behind the gates of his Montecito estate, flanked by private security. There are no angry mobs, no credible threats, no hovering press helicopters. Yet he continues to insist that his youngsters face mortal danger. Why? Because he relinquished the taxpayer-funded police escorts of a nation he freely chose to leave. This gambit is backfiring spectacularly. The British populace isn't buying his narrative. They regard it as a manipulative maneuver, a cynical effort to leverage his family's safety to reclaim privileges he surrendered long ago. Even more damning, many now interpret it as a transparent attempt to shame the monarchy into reversing its decision. In Bauer's words, bereft of any genuine purpose, Harry resorts to the lone tactic he believes might elicit sympathy. But that sympathy has soured into widespread skepticism. The harder Harry leans into this story, the more he undermines whatever credibility he once had. With each door he knocks on, every security appeal he issues, and every podcast, PR stunt, or lawsuit he launches, he drifts further from a respected royal, or even a serious advocate, and becomes instead a cautionary footnote that I am the United States. He's morphed into a punchline. The Duke of Netflix, derided by late-night hosts, jeered in conservative media, and overlooked by Hollywood's A-list. His Spotify venture flopped, his memoir reeks of bitterness, and he's been reduced to a court jester bereft of an audience. Across the pond, his reputation is even more tarnished. He's the turncoat who abandoned his lineage for fame, the brother who publicly chastised his sibling, the son who shamed his father, and the royal family member who's dragged the crown through scandal, all while insisting they bankroll his lifestyle. The result? Meghan keeps her distance, the palace won't return his calls, and the public on both sides of the Atlantic has largely moved on. Tom Bauer's harsh verdict wasn't mere commentary. It was a prognosis. Desperately sad, certainly, but above all desperately lost. Without a clear purpose, without allies, without a throne or respect, Harry is left with little more than lawsuits, tabloid fodder, and a spotlight that dims with every passing hour. Here we stand, a prince once cherished by millions, now adrift in self-imposed exile, canvassing strangers' doorsteps like a politician bereft of a platform. With no allies left in the palace and no foothold in Hollywood, his legacy has been reduced to a narrative of rebellion tarnished by remorse. The world no longer watches him in admiration, it watches in pity, and with a sort of stunned disbelief. Perhaps what we're witnessing is the final chapter of a royal misstep so momentous it can never be reversed. And there he is, the prince who abandoned his duties, now begging for sympathy on doorsteps rather than being greeted in palace corridors. From Windsor's grand halls to the gated mansions of Montecito, Harry's odyssey has become a global spectacle of ignominy. No throne awaits him, no title commands respect, and no clear purpose remains. Only a litany of lawsuits, public rebukes, and a once proud legacy in ruins. As Tom Bauer observed, Harry is desperately sad. Yet the public's reaction is far from sorrow. It's weariness. Weariness of the perpetual victimhood, the calculated manipulation, the unspoken hypocrisy. So here's the final question. Should Harry attempt to return to the UK, or remain cloistered in the shadowy exile of California, left only with his regrets? Let us know what you think. And if you believe his fall from grace has bottomed out, brace yourself, because the next act may well be his most mortifying yet.